Welcome to the Ultimate Music Teacher's Productivity and Profitability podcast. I'm your host, Glory St. Germain. Tune in to discover how you can unleash your teaching potential and turn your passion for music education into profit. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Ultimate Music Teachers podcast. I'm your host, Glory St. Germain, and today we have a very special guest with us. He is a professional guitarist and guitar instructor with over 15 years of experience in music performance. He's an international best-selling author in The Power of Why Musicians, 23 Musicians Crafted a Course, and also the founder and CEO of Muzie.Live, a platform that is revolutionizing the world of music education. So please give a warm welcome to Sam Reti. Hey, Sam.
Hey, Glory. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely. I'm so excited you're here. We've been friends for a long time. And, I think just before we kick things off, I would love it if you would share a little bit about how did you get started as a musician?
Yeah. Well, so I was probably about 13. Well, okay. Actually, no. Let's go really to the truth.
Okay.
I was in kindergarten. Okay. They had a "What do you want to be when you grow up" day. And I dressed as a rock star with jean jacket and like spiked hair and like a ruffled up shirt and all that kind of stuff. I have photos of it, and I'm like 2 feet tall. And
that's so funny.
we go up on stage and they go through everyone wanting to be like a paleontologist and a doctor. And they get to me and I was like, when I grow up, I want to be a rock star like my dad, because my dad had played in heavy metal bands back in the 80s. And so that, I think, was truly the real beginning. But I really didn't pick up instruments for quite a while. I was sort of a late to the game, really. I think I was about 13 when I actually got a guitar for the first time.
Yeah.
And that was, I'd always heard my dad in the basement playing his drums, and he gave me one lesson. Didn't go well, so not going to be a drummer. So yeah, I think it was sitting in the basement and listening to him play. He used to play along. He had these big speakers he'd play along to records from, and you just sit on the stairs and the house would be shaking because it's these huge drums. And yeah, I think that kind of was just like the catalyst of like, okay, I want to do that too. And then got a guitar, and that literally, the rest is history.
Well, how much fun, what a great upbringing you've had. Like how much fun, how many people can say, yeah, my dad's a rock star and, it's got me there. It's just so awesome. And I know you're still working with your dad to this day. And, I guess one of the things maybe to kick things off is just share a little bit about what are you most passionate about, as an expert in your industry. You've mentioned music tech and education, AI, anything music, but what really gets your heart racing and excited about this world of music education, Sam?
At the end of the day, it's the education. I love the technology. I love AI. I love the computers. I love the gizmos and gadgets. I am the first to get into all of it. But at the end of the day, I'm only interested in it because I want to see if there's a new, better, more efficient way to provide education. That's the core of what we're supposed to be doing. It shouldn't be, the tools should be out of your way. Those should be there to assist and enable. If the tool becomes the focus, then it's not doing its job. But it's like if you're building something and you're focusing on the hammer and not the house that you're building, that house isn't going to come out very well. It's like you need to focus on the big, job at hand. So the technology should be there to just assist. So I do love the tech and I love how it can enable. But at the end of the day, it's the education side that actually kind of gets me going, because it's really, I think the coolest thing is that we're building the next generation in music. It's not just, I think sometimes we forget what music education is about. Mm-hmm. And to me, and obviously it's about a lot of things, but to me, it is about writing music at the end. The end of it is producing musicians in whatever capacity that is. If you play in a band, if you write music, if you play in an orchestra, whatever, it's to produce musicians. That's the point of music education. And there's obviously some fantastic side benefits to it. Yeah. But at the end of the day, that's the goal. To me, I love listening to music. So if I go onto Spotify and I hear the newest artist, and the newest artist is absolutely killing it, because they actually took their music education seriously, then that's amazing to me. It's like I have students of my own who are writing songs that when I was their age, I was, I could only dream of being at that level. Where my guitar teacher at my age could have only dreamed of being at my level. Like, hopefully that's continuous. As long as that keeps going up, then you're doing the right thing.
Yeah,
So
100%. And I think the music education landscape is evolving rapidly. I mean, we've seen so much change, even within the last 3 years. And I'm a big AI fan too, so I know we have that in common. And maybe, Sam, can you tell us what's currently happening in your industry that's really making this significant impact on music education platforms? And, and obviously AI is going to be a part of it. And for all of us, whether we like it or not, I don't think it's something to be afraid of. I think it's something to embrace and learn how to use it, as you said, as a tool, and if someone gave you a hammer or not, if you're going to have one, you may as well use it and learn how to use it so it can really help and benefit you as an educator.
100%. The way I equate the AI to the internet, let's just jump back 30 years. Well, I guess maybe a little more now, but it's 1990 something, and you've got your cool you've got your cool giant computer set up in your basement or your living room that's wired in physically, and you're dialing up on a modem to this thing called the internet, and sharing files to other people that aren't real. And nobody's going to buy anything on the internet. Who would do that? Why would you? I would never put my credit card onto the internet. No one would do that. That's crazy. Yeah, okay. So conversation in 1990, right? So fast forward, it's obvious the internet took over. It's every day. AI is the inevitable next step.
Mm-hmm.
Not the blockchain and the Web3 and the crypto stuff that sort of was like almost like the tease to AI almost, where like that stuff's cool, but the AI is the real game changer. This is the thing that whether you like it or not, it's here to stay.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only getting exponentially better. And when I say exponentially, I mean at like an absurd rate, to the point where even the top level AI experts are a little like, we're not totally sure how that works. Because it is just moving at a clip that we've just never seen before. And it's because it does have this weird ability to almost self-aid. So it's not just the people putting the input to make the AI better, it's the AIs making the AIs better, which is a very interesting position to be in. Now, all of that stuff is great, and there's a lot of awesome AI tools out there. But again, if the tool is not going to benefit you, then it's probably not something for you. So the one everyone knows about is like Dolly or like Midjourney, or these things where you type in a prompt and then you hit enter and a photograph pops up, or some awesome image, and you just type it in and boom, you're an artist. And I like those. They're fun and stuff. They're still a little ways away from anything practically, that you can do with them. They're getting there. Where I see people getting concerned is with the AI music generation stuff. Thinking of, I want a song that sounds like, and then enter a band name, a style, a theme, and whatever, and boom, you've got a new song from, you could have Elvis singing about crypto coins, you could if you want. Now, to me, there's a fine line. Now, I understand the sort of artistic integrity side of things, where if you're ripping off somebody else's art and work and portraying it as your own, that's just plagiarism. But it's just plagiarism anyway. So whether or not you're using AI to assist, it's still just plagiarism. I get it makes plagiarism easier, but the internet made plagiarism easier too. I mean, it's just something you have to that's just an unfortunate facet of this technology and the way the world moves forward. I think eventually we'll come up with a completely alternate solution to, copyright and things like that. But as we move forward, I understand the concern there. They're always going to steal my songs and it's going to do this, it's going to do that. The thing that I can say that I'm not worried about is at the end of the day, humans are the people who listen. Humans are the listener. Not AI might be the creator, but humans are the listener. Humans will still really be able to, for a long time, we'll be able to discern any AI created work. And if you do find it's AI created, I do think you'll find some kind of disconnection occur where you don't feel quite as emotionally bound to it. Where if you heard the same thing created by a musician, you'd be more inclined to go to that. So I still think humans will gravitate naturally towards music created by musicians,
Yeah.
even if you've got a plethora of it that's AI generated.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
100%.
the things that become kind of interesting is how can you use this or leverage this to actually be beneficial in some way?
Right.
Now, for me, I'm always thinking music education, music lessons primarily, right?
Yep.
So to me, and we haven't done this yet, but this is something that's been sort of percolating, is backing tracks are pretty fundamental to teaching lessons. Teachers often make backing tracks during lessons or download or buy backing tracks or produce them in some way. There's a concept where you could have a little AI tool built into your product where you could say backing track A minor, 250 beats per minute, beat bop jazz style.
Right.
And it produce something that is, good enough for you to just practice along with, not to produce music to be put out to sell or anything, but as a practice aid.
Yeah.
That's the way I could see that piece of technology being utilized in a beneficial way.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether or not that's practical, who knows? It's something to be seen. But to me, if you're going to look at tech, I always try to find how can this be beneficial to us as a society, as an educational resource. So that specifically is sort of that one. Now at Muzie, we are the first music education platform to develop an AI that's actually integrated into our product. Yeah. There are more now, but we were the first to actually, as far as we're aware, we were the first music education company to actually get it done. So we've had this for about 6-7 months now. So we've had quite a while to actually look at the results and see what's going on. And it's pretty cool because we thought people might be a little intimidated at first, but once they understood how it works and what it does, the results really have been pretty impressive. Yeah. So the way the Muzie AI works, and this works for online, in-person, hybrid, does not matter what kind of lessons you teach. You open Muzie, you go to the AI, and you hit record. Then forget the AI exists and go teach. You talk to your students like you normally would. You do everything you would regularly in the lesson, just as a normal teacher. When you go back to the Muzie program at sort of the last few minutes of the lesson, what you'll see is a transcript of everything you and your students said to each other throughout the entire lesson. From there, the AI can then generate a whole bunch of different resources from that transcript. Most usefully, things like lesson notes for the teacher, assignments for the students, and practice routines. It actually also has the capability of literally writing guitar tablature. So we haven't gotten it to write sheet music yet, although there is a little side project I've been working on for that. But it can actually write guitar tablature itself. So if you say like write a G major chord for, guitar tab, it will actually print that in the assignment itself, which is pretty cool.
Amazing.
All of that gets written up and supplied to you and your student as needed. So you'll have lesson notes from the lesson that are anything you might have said, like, oh, next week I need to bring in this, or reminders of things, and it takes context from the actual lesson. And it's surprisingly good at really, and it knows it's a music teaching assistant. So knows, in quotes, it's not quite that intelligent yet, but it is pretty cool because it understands the job is create music education content. So if you try to ask it like, how to give me a fitness routine, it'll give you a fitness routine for like your fingers because it's assuming that you're wanting like exercises to literally in your hands or something. So yeah, it's very particular, but it's pretty neat. The results are pretty impressive.
Yeah. Wow. When you're talking about all this, like it gets me so excited because when I look back in the olden days, and for many teachers out there, I feel like we've seen the invention of life because we used to have to look things up in encyclopedias. It was BC before computers and figure things out and put on a record, never mind a CD or all the rest of this stuff. And now I think it's time that we need to be open because, as you said, music education, if you're a music teacher, you are teaching your students something new, right? They've never heard before. They're nervous. They have to be open to learning. And I think as educators, we too have to be open to learning and embracing and at least check it out because otherwise you're going to be missing the boat. I think you're going to be left behind. And I love learning new things. Like, it just gets me so excited about how can I incorporate this? How can it make my life easier? And how can I spend more time doing what I love doing, which is teaching and hanging out with my family and, GSD, get stuff done. And I know too, Sam, that, in your journey to success, one of the people who have really influenced you is not AI, but in fact, your dad. Can you share maybe a little memorable moment or something that kind of helped your drive and ambition as you're on this journey with your dad? How cool is that?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny when I think now, if I think about it, people are like, it's always amazing that we've actually been able to build something together and we still work together. We own the business together. We're still in charge. Like, it's our thing. The two of us are still, still the two of us. It's like there's a team under us now, but it's the two of us in charge of everything. And the funny thing about that is that started when I was 13, when I got a guitar, because that was day one. On my 13th birthday, I got my guitar. It was funny because the month before we actually went out and picked out the guitar. So I knew it was just upstairs waiting. So I was my mind for a whole month just waiting to get in. Finally, so I get the guitar and my dad's like, all right, let's go downstairs and jam. And that's day one. And we must have played together every single day for, from 13 to 18 until I went to college. And then even, every time I came home from college, we were playing together. There's probably a year and a half in college where we didn't technically work together. And then about halfway through college, I had this idea for an app and we started working together again. So, we've been working together forever, which is such a really unique and amazing opportunity for us. But one particular memory that is pretty funny is I was playing a show. I was 16, maybe 15. I was playing at the, what they call it, cafe night or something? Coffee night. Our school was really cool. I didn't really meet high school. Every Friday or 2 Fridays of the month, I think it was, throughout the summer, they had converted the cafeteria into a stage. And they invited the public to come in. And they had basically like a talent show. It wasn't like awards, but like you could just book it. You could book a slot on. You and your band could go up and play. And there would be all the parents from the school and all the kids and all the different grades and their siblings and people from young. It was really neat, actually, as a school, like a great thing to have. So I had done it with a band before. So I played on stage before, but always with a band. This was the first time I was getting on stage alone. And it was just me and a backing track. It was just hit play, go up there, and then play the thing. And there's a decent amount of people. There's usually like 100, 200 people there, for, 15, 16 years old. So we're driving down to the gig, and we're about to get to the school. And I'm like, for the first time, I'm like shaking nervous. I'm like, I can't do this. So I'm like, we're turning around right now. I'm out. And my dad's like, no. He's like, you played this song a million times. He's like, you're gonna be literally fine. And I was like, no. And he goes, well, no, don't worry about it. He goes, playing in front of people is 10 times easier than playing in front of strangers. Just trust me. I've played all over. I know this for a fact. It's just, it is easier. So I was like, okay, fine. So start like calming down. And he keeps telling me, he's like, he's like, I just know. He's like, when you play in front of your people, it's just so much easier than playing in front of those strangers. And then we get to the end, go out, play the thing. I did okay, felt good about it, come home, driving home. And my dad turns to me and goes, it's so much harder to play in front of people It is so much easier to play in front of strangers. And he goes, but you did a really good job. He goes, but in the future, he goes, it really does actually get easier. Because when you do play in front of strangers, you don't have to worry about their opinion. They're not going to see you at school tomorrow.
Right. Oh my gosh.
So he convinced me. Like, I was convinced that, like, I was like, yeah, no, you're right. Like, this would be so easy. And then I did it. And then later, as we're driving home, he was like, I can't believe that worked. He's like, yeah, that didn't, he's like, I was lying the whole time. But
oh my gosh.
It worked. No, yeah.
It's time for you to play a couple of tricks on your dad. I think it's payback time,
Yeah.
Yeah.
The best of his pranks to me this is sort of just a little side thing, but it's a funny little little tangent, but because we still work together, like, we see each other pretty much every day, and, we live far away, but we're on, video calls every day.
Yeah.
But when we moved to America, my dad told me, one, that you have to pedal the airplane for it to take off. And two, that in America, there's something called the slob monster. And this is something you don't tell a 3-year-old. The slob monster will bite your head off if you're a bad child.
Oh my God.
I'm glad I'm finally documenting this publicly. It's a hilarious story. This really did happen. And so we get on the plane, and I crawl under the seats of the plane trying to find the pedals. And so he's like, "What are you doing?" And finally pulls me up, and he's like, "Oh, well, no, okay, there are no pedals. So you're sorry, I lied." And so we get to the US. Few weeks goes by, nothing bad. One night, I'd done something. I don't know what I did. Probably, hurt my sister or something. Probably got in a fight with one of them. And so I remember I was up, sitting in my bed with the door open, just looking around the room. And it must have been like midnight. My dad comes up, and he's like going to bed, and he sees me like awake and comes in, and I'm freaking out about the slob monster. And he's like, "I have no idea what you're talking about." And then basically I told him what it was, and then it registered. And so it gave me basically childhood nightmares. So just a side tangent, when you are teaching kids, try to remember that they do believe what you say. So, be careful with that power.
Oh my God. That is such a funny story. And, when we look back, like those memories, like it's such a treasure to hear you talk about your dad. It just warms my heart so much, Sam, because I grew up in a musical family as well. My dad played multiple instruments, and it was always about, for me, my mom would say, "Well, you either play the piano or you do the dishes." And I was like, "I'm going to play the piano." So it was my exit strategy for having to do any work at all in the kitchen. To this day, I still use the same strategy. I just I'll be at the piano if you need me, and somebody else can clean up the kitchen. But it's just fun. Those relationships are so meaningful and just impact us for forever. And I know for you, you're a guitarist, you've had extensive experience. And so now it's time for your advice. Your dad gave you that advice, but what's one piece of advice you'd give someone who's just starting to learn the guitar, or just the early stages of getting started in their musicianship journey?
Yeah, for me, it's always been about teachers. For my whole life, if I go back and I sort of look at the big things that have happened to me, I can equate them almost directly to an individual teacher or mentor who has sort of put direct path. Music-wise, I mean, my dad started to train, and he got rolling. But when I was 15, he sent me to a music camp. Met my guitar teacher at that music camp. I stayed with him until I graduated and went to college. Even after college, I would keep going back to him for more lessons. Still friends to this day. He's been a massive influence, especially getting me into college. I mean, without him, I would not have gotten in. So I can literally say, if I didn't go to Berkeley, I wouldn't have done this, I wouldn't have done that. I surely would not be here right now.
Yeah.
So, so I can equate that, so thanks, Eric. And then other, people like that, I just spoke at Berkeley last week. The coolest experience for me, because I got to speak at a class that I took 7 years ago. And the professor at that class, I met him at that same summer camp when I was 14 years old. And he was one of those teachers I could never really get in to his class. I was always sort of overwhelmed, and he was just too much at the high level, and I was never quite good enough. And then finally, when I got to college, I was determined to take his class. And so I did. And now not only did I take his class, but I get invited back to speak at his class, which is an absolute honor. To me, I've kind of filled my sort of goal in that sort of world. But to me, it is find good mentors. That's the best advice I could ever give. They're instrumental in moving you forward. If you think you could do it all alone, best of luck to you. Call us when you finally realize that's not going to work.
Yeah, right. That is such a great story, Sam. And, congratulations, because I'm sure you were probably strutting your stuff a little taller when you walked into the room, just to go, wow, that is a big journey, and you've accomplished so much. And, you and your dad creating Muzie.Live, it's just such an innovative platform. Could you walk us through how it's changing the game for music educators and students? Maybe share a little bit about, what the platform is about for listeners that maybe haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, absolutely. So fundamentally, Muzie started out as for lack of a better term, basically your Zoom for music teachers. That was sort of the catalyst that got us rolling, because
Right.
it really started as a practice app years ago, but we shut all that down. And in 2019, we've been building an online teaching platform. We rolled it out January 10th, 2020, pandemic hit, the rest is history. So for us, the product was mainly online teaching. Over the years, it's really expanded, though. It's more about now just educational resources and tools for you and your students. So we have really high quality online lessons. So you have a portal, that's got high fidelity audio. You have tons of tools, probably more tools than any platform in the industry at all. I think I can stake my reputation on that one, just because we got a lot of tools. We've got whiteboards, file sharing, MIDI keyboards, MIDI guitars, MIDI violins, automated transcriptions for when you play those MIDI instruments. We support Music XML. There's the typical file sharing and screen sharing, multicam support. I mean, the list is almost endless. We have dozens of practice features for students. You can create assignments for students. When they go into those assignments, students can record themselves. They can record themselves practicing. They can record their practice time. They can track their progress. They can upload files. They can make notes. They have basically a central hub to keep everything that they need music related in one place. And as a teacher, you just have a really simple to use interface that keeps everything very manageable. What's nice about it is you can jump between online and in-person lessons on the fly. So we got pretty much everybody now is doing some kind of hybrid. So, we'll have teachers that will come in. You'll have students come in, you'll teach your lesson in person. Muzie still works great for that. You can record your in-person lessons. I mentioned the AI for in-person lessons. It will literally take notes for you throughout the lesson, which honestly is one of those things that when you try it, you're going to just be like, oh, wow, that saved about 25 minutes of work. And it took 30 seconds for the AI to do it. So those kinds of things, really kind of, as I said, with Muzie, the philosophy is if it helps you teach or it helps your students learn, then that's what we're trying to provide. So, as a business, that's really what Muzie is about. Then we have sort of a really great community of teachers. I mean, from literally all over the world. It's thousands of teachers from all over the world. A lot of them correspond in our little Facebook group called Muzie Teachers, which is just a cool hangout spot. But the platform as itself has sort of evolved into much more of just an educational resource and platform than I think some people, when they first get to us, they go, oh, cool, like an online Zoom for music teachers. You're like, long time ago with that comparison. Like now the only comparison to Zoom is there's a video thing. It's an educational resource for you and your students.
Yeah. And, I'm so grateful. I mean, it's been, like you said, it's been a lot of years ago now when we first connected, and I had the opportunity and privilege to use Muzie with my students as well. And I was just blown away. And now you just keep adding and adding and adding, and it just keeps getting better and better. Just when you think, wow, this is incredible, then you're throwing one more thing out there. And I think it just makes teaching music more fun. And one of the things that we find too, as educators, is there's always going to be challenges. And maybe share something, if you can recall, what has been something that's maybe been a challenge for you and maybe taught you something that you're like, well, won't be doing that again, or what sort of some things that come to mind?
Well, I guess there's both as a teacher and a business owner. I mean, I guess there's two sides to that question for me, because if I think just as a teacher, I do dumb stuff all the time. So that one I'm probably worse at, like in my of just like doing something silly that I'm like the other day, I literally taught a lesson to a student, and like half the notes I told him were just wrong. I was just reading the music wrong. I was just looking at it. For some reason, I was reading it as a 7-string guitar, but it was for a 6-string guitar. So I just got it all wrong. So anyway, still guilty of all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But, I'd say adaptability is really the thing that I think is sort of the biggest sort of kicker to me, where it's like you don't get to choose sort of adaptability in a way. Like if you don't choose it, then you're getting left behind. So, I think one of the biggest learning curves just in general for me is being able to detach myself from my own ideas is something that took, and I will say is a continuous work in progress. It's hard to not get personally offended when things go wrong or people don't like something or something isn't is so you have to detach yourself, but also as a business, as just a business owner, you need to be willing to detach yourself from the whole thing so that you can look at the bigger picture. For me, I found it really difficult in the early days to say, because I was always like, well, I'm a music teacher, I'm a musician, I'm a music teacher, musician who's got this app that we can build, and it wasn't until a little bit into that I was like, well, no, actually, I'm the CEO of a software company.
Yep.
And that I have these other bigger responsibilities at large, and that, so for me, I think it was sort of taking on the responsibilities that I was supposed to. Yeah, it's hard to say specifically, but yeah, as a teacher, I make mistakes all the time, so that's an endless pursuit to figure out how to correctly. So, as every day I get panicked before a lesson because I'm like, oh crap, do I know how to play this thing?
Yeah.
That massive imposter syndrome, only almost more so, ironically, in the teaching guitar lessons than I do now as like the business. But
well, speaking of stories, I remember teaching a student online and I said, okay, so, turn over to page 7 in your book and we're going to play this piece and let me see how you're going to do. And I had the book open and, I'm on page 7 as well. And she just started playing these random notes. And I thought, oh, it's not very good. Or maybe I'm not, so I went through it again. I said, well, are you reading? Like just do your right hand. And we kind of went through the whole thing. And anyway, it was just not working. I said, what note is that? So she's naming the notes. And I said, no. And I said, well, what's the name? Like, what are you playing? And so she finally showed me her book and realized, oh, she was on page 7 and I was on page 7, but we were in 2 different books. And so it was like, okay, that didn't work. So yeah, but we had a laugh about it and, kind of made it there. And I think, when we look at the whole business, I think music and technology, they're kind of like peanut butter and jam these days. You just really think things can go wrong, but maybe you can share a moment when technology, saved the day or, how did that work for you in developing Muzie.Live?
Yeah, for us, I think the literal save the day was the product itself. And this is just lucky timing, but at the end of the day, it's hard from my personal point of view to say, because I had obviously no like clairvoyance to the future to be like, oh, there's a pandemic coming, we need to get online.
Yeah.
What I was looking at though was just technology and industry trends in general. So through 2019, we were building an online education platform. There was no pandemic in sight. There was just a plan to hit the ground running and make something out of it. The pandemic was this weird catalyst that just sort of launched everything in our direction.
Mm-hmm.
Part of that is luck. Like, and I hate saying the pandemic was some kind of luck because it's obviously a literal catastrophe. Yeah. But, at the end of the day, it's that hard work, preparation, and timing is what makes luck. And the further I go through life, the more I prescribe to that. I used to really prescribe to luck just being luck, but I don't buy that at all anymore. It really is the preparation side. Because it's like, someone at college made a really good example of it. They're like, well, imagine if you met John Mayer and he said, I need a bass player tomorrow night, but you don't play bass. Well, that meeting is just completely irrelevant to you. He goes, now imagine if you do play bass and he says the same thing. Well, that meeting isn't luck. It's because the meeting happened, it's not luck that the meeting happened to you and you do play bass. It's the fact that you put in all that hard work that makes it a lucky situation. Mm-hmm. So for us, it was a little bit of just keeping an eye on the trends. And it was just Muzie being in the right place at the right time. Yeah. So for us, at the end of the day, that was the saving grace of technology was we had the technology and there was a mass need for that all of a sudden, literally overnight. Yeah. And we happened to be in a position sort of where I was saying, like, be quick to abandon your ideas and pivot and all that stuff. We were able to do so, but people probably don't know Muzie's the 3rd product from our company. The others don't exist anymore. They're long gone and probably deleted. I don't even know where they, I haven't seen them in years. They literally don't exist at all. And so we built a product, rebuilt the entire product, scrapped both of those, built a product, rebuilt the entire product, scrapped that one, built a product, got it about 90% of the way to what we wanted. The pandemic hit and caused us to pivot and start adding all this other stuff that we had never intended. Yeah. And ironically, we've almost now come back full circle to the very first thing we ever built. But for us, it really is that preparation and opportunity. But the technology side of things, it really was just Muzie being the right thing at the right time. And for me, I mean, I'm a teacher, so like I was teaching in town. Like I had students like
Yeah.
just like everyone else. I was looking at online as being the future of things, but I was only partially online at that point.
Yeah.
I wasn't fully online until the pandemic, just like everybody else. I had a few kids that I had 4-year-olds that I would go to their house because it was just, they're right there. It's easy enough. Run downtown, say hi. But then pandemic struck. I brought everyone online, lost no
Yeah.
students, kept growing my studio. I now have students literally all over the country. It's like, and now I have a selective roster. So I quite literally got the benefit of my own product. So, and fortunately, I know a lot of teachers did too, which is really made it all worth it in the end.
Absolutely. And I think it's one of the things that brought us together, you and I too, Sam, because, like you said, pivot. And during the pandemic, I realized teachers were scrambling to say, well, what am I going to do? How am I going to teach online? How am I going to find students? What am I, my business is going to tank. I mean, and I think at that moment you had two choices. You were either going to take a very long vacation and maybe never find your business back again, or you had to pivot and accept that there's a change. And when I created the Ultimate Music Theory Certification Elite Educator program, and teachers were scrambling, and it's what brought me to you in the first place to say, how can we make this easy? And I think that you have just so, seen the future and helped us get there easily, and now continue to bring in these new things, especially with AI coming and making things even easier for us. And when you look back at you're still teaching, you're doing a lot of things, you're wearing a lot of hats. What's maybe one of your favorite types of music that your taste in music that you love, a song or an artist that you're like, I love this kind of thing?
So it's kind of funny because now I don't look it anymore, but I'm a metalhead. So the guitars might give it away for anyone who knows guitars. If they see that wall, they'll be like, oh, he's a metalhead. But to be fair, I think my lucky thing is I appreciate all styles of music, and there is something I can find to enjoy in everything. I don't have that like, oh, I like everything, but I hate country music or something. Like Alan Jackson's one of my favorite artists of all time. It's like, but I guess that's if I give you my 5 top favorite artists, this would probably make a little more sense. So like probably like Black Sabbath, old school heavy metal, Dream Theater, which is like heavy progressive metal. That's sort of what I grew up on. That's the music that just whenever I listen to it, that's the comfort music. Trevor Hall is an acoustic singer-songwriter who lives in Boulder, who is just he plays very chill, relaxing, calm, almost meditative style of music. Yeah. Then I'd say Slade, which is a British 60s rock band. Is like, they're famous for the Come On Hear the Noise song, and Come On Feel the Noise, and the Christmas song, and some bunch of goofy tunes from the 60s. And then Alan Jackson, like literally the country singer. Those are like, if you put those in a playlist and play them, it is the weirdest journey of music you'll have in an afternoon. And then I'm like a big fan of rap now recently. And recently, that's the thing that I've been weirdly really into this kid, Connor Price. He's like a TikTok sensation kind of thing. This is what I was talking about earlier about loving the generations, the new music. Like I love old music, but this kid, he's, I don't know, 20, if that. He's making a fortune, an absolute fortune. He's making these little 2-minute songs that are like 1.5 to 2 minutes. They are really, really catchy hooks. And then he does 2 verses. So he does like a really catchy hook, then he raps for a little bit, then a catchy hook, and then he raps for a little bit. That's the whole song. And he makes these things pretty much weekly. And he has little TikToks. And I don't even have TikTok. I just find them on like other platforms, seem to like throw them to me. And I love that because that kid literally just bedroom musician doing his thing. And he did this really cool collab where through TikTok, he found other artists around the world that weren't quite well known and did a song with an artist in all these different countries, put the album together. And some of those songs now have hundreds of millions of plays. So it's like, to me, there's something fantastic about the next generation of artists.
Yes.
They have such a collaborative thing going on that I feel like our generation, my generation, going back, it didn't work that way.
Yeah.
Like for us, you played in a band and your band was almost at war with that band because it was like the other band or something.
Yeah.
Now I'm not seeing that much anymore.
Yeah.
I'm seeing much more like, oh, we play in the same style. Awesome. Maybe we could collaborate on something, do a song together. Maybe our bands could go on tour. Maybe we could. And I guess it's a positive and a negative, just of how the nature of the industry goes. There's probably not enough money for everyone to just go to war with each other. And you need to create that collaborative thing. But I like it. I mean, I like seeing this collaborative thing. So, sorry, long version is any style of music, but right now I'm really into rap for some reason.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Goofy rap. So it's like goofy rap. It's not like hardcore at all. It's very like silly.
Well, we're waiting for your album to come out, Sam.
Well, maybe I'm working on something.
Oh, okay, great. Oh, Sam, you're amazing. I love chatting with you. I love your sense of humor and your knowledge. And it's just always so uplifting to have a conversation with you. And I guess just as we're wrapping up, can you maybe tell us about your future, your vision for music education, where you kind of see yourself fitting into this exciting future that's coming our way?
Yeah, I mean, my goal is to build Muzie into the largest music education platform in the world. I mean, we're on our way. You know, I think that we're in a position where, like I said, education is the focus. So access to education is the most, to me, that's the crux of that. Yeah. So with Muzie, it enables people to access education of a very high quality from anywhere in the world. And so the more we can expand that, I think that's going to be interesting. So yeah, next couple of years with all the technology at our side, the hope is we just expand out to more people so that there's more music to enjoy. Yeah,
100%. And we need music in our lives. I mean, it's for healing. It's for, celebration. It's for reflection. I mean, the world couldn't exist without music. And when we're really looking back at our conversation, how can people learn more about Muzie and your platform?
Yeah, so if you are interested in Muzie, there's just www.muzie.live. So not .com or anything, just .live. That'll take you right to the website. You can learn all about us. I do coaching. So if you are looking for something more like, how do I adapt to online? How do I adapt to technology? How do my, that thing, there's a coaching calls that I do in there. But mainly we just suggest come to Muzie, check out what we've got, the community, and hopefully it fits your needs and, increases your enjoyment of teaching.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Sam, for joining me today. It's been a pleasure, of course, having you on the show. We've done a lot of videos and different things together. And I also appreciate the special video that you did for our Ultimate Music Teachers membership on just how Muzie.Live can really help teachers stay organized and easily run their music teaching business and grow their music teaching business too. So we're definitely going to share the link in the show notes, as well as any other links that we've mentioned. And so you can connect with Sam Reti and the amazing team at Muzie.Live. So thank you so much, Sam. I look forward to our next conversation.
Thank you so much, Glory.
And to all of our listeners out there, remember to stay tuned for more incredible episodes of the Ultimate Music Teachers podcast. If you like this episode, be sure to subscribe, comment, share, and join our Ultimate Music Teachers community. Until next time, keep the music playing. Bye now. Thanks for listening to the Ultimate Music Teachers Productivity and Profitability podcast. Together, we can transform lives through the power of music education. I invite you to explore what's possible for your musical journey inside our UMT community. Simply join our Ultimate Music Teachers private Facebook group, where we network, answer questions, host live events, and connect on a deeper level. Here's to your ultimate music teaching success with productivity and profitability. Till next time, teach with passion.